Welcome back to the Clubhouse 54 podcast. I'm Michael Little. Today's guest is a biomechanical analysis expert. He's creator and owner of Quintic Ball Roll. He has worked with major champions in golf, has over 350 clients. He has putted 18 greens in a round of golf. Please welcome Dr. Paul Hurrion. Hey,
Thank
Doc.
you, Mark. Hi, thank you very much. I forgot about that round. That was a few years back, but thanks for reminding me.
I'll tell you,
Absolutely.
all the things on the website, you have the best golfers in the world. You have, Cristiano Ronaldo. To me, the most impressive thing was seeing putting 18 greens. That's a thing of dreams, man.
But
wow.
I didn't hit many greens. So let's put that in perspective. I didn't hit that many to start with. So it might look impressive, but I think my short game got me out of trouble.
That's amazing.
They were all front pins, huh? All front pins, and you missed it on the front collar. I get it.
Yeah, just a little 2-foot tap in each time. Yeah, if only. Hey ho. That's where statistics can be quite misleading.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for
it's
reminding me.
Still impressive. So on our podcast, Doc, we like to get to know who people are, and obviously we can geek out a little bit if you'd like to geek out about putting. But really, the whole thing is we'd like to know more about you and how you got involved with golf and how you got involved with Quintic Ball Roll and developed that system that has been helping so many golfers around the world today.
Wow. Okay. So, long story short, sports science background. Maths and physics A level. They were my sort of passion as I was growing up. I did a sports science degree, led on into biomechanics. Lucky enough to be offered to do a PhD at my university in Southampton. Southampton University, as it was then, is now University of Chichester. The name's all changed, but it was right at the start of sports science, really starting, really kicking off. I mean, I've got some great friends that were at college together that do all sorts of work in psychology, in physiology, some really high-end sports people. And we, as I said, we were right time, right place when that sports science bubble kicked off. And sport in the UK certainly, became a lot more professional, and all the help and advice, it all came together. So my initial work was track and field and cricket, fast bowling in cricket. Now, you don't play a lot of cricket in the US, but it's basically you got to keep your arms straight when you bowl. So we were doing force platforms, 3D analysis, kinematic sequencing, even EMGs, muscle analysis of all these athletes, whether they're cricketers or javelin throwers. And really, that's when Quintic started, because we had all this technology, but the coach just wanted to see my little VCR camera stuck in the corner. Yeah, because it's instant feedback. Because with coaching, the quicker you can get the data back to the athlete, the better. We'd have all this wonderful stuff for research. It was cine film. I had to take the thing had to get sent away for development. Yeah, had to get developed. And with fingers crossed, the thing actually was focused properly, and they didn't cock it up as they put it through the old-fashioned film. That's really what it was. So I'm showing my age here, but anyway, so cricket, athletics, and my first golfer I was introduced was when I was doing some work with the England cricket team, force platforms, and it was Padraig Harrington. So that was my first golfer.
Wow.
So it was quite an introduction. Long story short, that's how I ended up meeting golf. Got into golf.
What was your doctorate in?
Lower back injuries. Lower back injuries. Mm.
Well, a lot of golfers can relate to that.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you think of when your spine is rotated, twisted, then you add in lateral flexion, so the side bend. Yeah. When you're picturing a few golfers' swings here, and then you add in high vertical ground reaction forces, the spine just doesn't like it. Let's be brutally honest about it. the body can handle force if it's up or down. Yeah. Even in so much rotation, it can handle quite a bit rotation. But you add all three together, and the side bend and the lateral flexion, and then it's the poor spinal column is not a happy bunny.
Wow. So what your PhD was in that?
Yeah, all looking into the research into how to protect the spine for these athletes.
That's amazing. That's hyper focus. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So as I said, we're doing all this R&D, lots of cameras, force platforms, and I got introduced to Quintic through one of the strength and conditioning coaches, physios that he was using, because it's all about force platform work. And then I don't know if you can remember when Quintic went very wide putting stance back in early 2000s, because that's when 2002 I think it was when I first was introduced. I mean, crikey, he's taught me way so much about putting. I mean, the guy was a brilliant golfer, let's be honest, at that time. And we're thinking, okay, what can we add? What can we do? And in that classic case of stability, if you keep that center of pressure still, the center of mass still, then as Michael's knowing already with Quintic, how important that center strike is with the putter, and just mishitting the center by a few millimeters can create different spins, different launches, and different speeds. So the body is really key in enabling the putter to return square. So it's a bit of a long story. There we ended up back to golf.
Yeah. So when you so he was the first person that really introduced you to golf then at that time.
Sure.
So did he then start to share your knowledge with his friends and say, hey, I have the new guy in town, or how'd that all work out?
Well, funny you should say that. It's quite interesting. He didn't tell anybody. He kept it very secret.
Yeah, that's the move. If you're competing, I mean.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're a head of Formula One race team, and you've got this new engineer that's coming on board. You're not going to tell everybody what he's doing, do you? I mean, nobody would. So you can't blame anybody. And then it's like, who's this guy? It turned up, and I suppose it wasn't until he won at Carnoustie that, believe it or not, in his actual acceptance speech at the end, he said, obviously, thank you to Paul, and then it all started from there.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Is there? I'm assuming you do work with amateurs as well.
Yeah, we do, definitely. I think the key there with the amateurs, I'm happy to work with anybody, let's be honest. And we've got other guys that we've trained up over the years. But I think the key for me with amateurs is they've got to practice. They've got to want to try and improve. Yeah. And most amateurs bitch and moan about their putting. But let's be honest, their putter goes in their bag on the 18th hole when they finish their round, and it doesn't come out again until the first green the following week. And then they moan about their putting, and I go, well, let's just be real. Let's try and put it.
But they'll go pound balls at the range all week.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I'm interested in the difference in how you work. You have an opportunity to work with the most elite athletes in the world, right? And understanding their mechanics and down to every little nuance. How different is that versus working with an amateur? Are you kind of drilling down into the microcosms or the smaller percentages of variations that are happening, or are you working on different things?
Now, you still got the same fundamentals apply to everybody. It doesn't matter because physics is physics. I mean, the high-speed camera doesn't know who is the person behind it, a junior, a robot, or even a major champion. So it's just going to measure what happens. And then it's all about how you build it back up again, build the pieces back up. And I think it's the better you really know when you've got somebody that's pretty special. They're very quick to adapt. They can change very, very, very quickly. They understand it. You know what it's like when you're coaching. You see the penny drops and you see the little light bulb goes on, and you go, okay, they've got this. They understand what's happening. Because me, for coaching, I'm very much, I want the player to take ownership. There's whatever sport we're dealing with, because they're the ones in charge. Yeah. If they miss a putt, they miss a penalty, they miss a delivery of cricket, why is the ball gone where it's gone? Yeah. And if you can't understand why it's gone where it's gone, then it's tough. And I think the better athletes, the higher, maybe this is what separates them, but the real elite athletes understand that so much better. Yeah, the differences between, and they can dial in. Whereas you've got some good amateurs, but they don't really understand the differences. Yeah, it's a lot more vague. Does that make sense? How for example, the player hits the putt 10 foot out and it just shaves the right edge. Why is it missed? Read, speed, alignment. I hit it in the toe. I hit it in the heel. I didn't. There's so many different possibilities, and I just find that people don't understand. Yeah, they don't fully understand the differences. Yeah, because you can misread it, pull it, and hold it, and the crowd go, "Well done," but boy, you got lucky. Yeah.
Now, would you change how you would word things to people? Like, would you get more technical with a better player than with an amateur?
No, not at all. It depends, because that player might not be technical. Let's be honest. We've had some very, very good players that are not technical, much more feel orientated, and yes, we've got all the high tech equipment, if you like. That's for me. That's for the coach. Yeah, I don't expect the player to fully understand all the forces and applications of this and that, and why that shoulder works different to this shoulder, or why the elbow needs to be this 20 degrees this way or that way. They don't need to know. Yeah, all that data is for you as the coach to help digest what's happening, diagnose what's going on, and hopefully make the right intervention. Yeah.
Yes.
So some guys, don't you know, with Quintic, Michael, you can put maybe 1 or 2 tiles up at the bottom, and that's all they need. Yeah. Don't go showing them all 60 parameters, because it just blow their heads off. Yeah, and you make matters worse.
Exactly right. Exactly. I'm just like, hey, we're gonna focus on that number and that number only. Don't look at anything else. Don't worry about it.
Correct, and you hide them. You literally hide them on the screen.
Yeah.
But certain athletes want to know, absolutely, but then others don't. So, but that's coaching, isn't it? That's understanding the person in front of you and knowing how far you can go with them before you go, okay, right, that's plenty. We're done here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a good athlete for Mike to coach, because I've seen all those numbers and I'm like, I don't even want to understand them. Just tell me what to do to fix it.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm not going there. Yeah.
The athletes, they've come in for a reason. They want to get better. They want to understand their putting strokes better. So, yeah, they don't care. Give me the right putter. Tell me how to stand and what I'm trying to achieve.
Doc, we actually turned Tyler around. He's now a left-handed putter.
Oh my God. Really?
So funny story on why that happened. So we were in the Quintic, and I was rolling right-handed putts, and I'm cutting my putts, and I'm trying to reshape my impact. And I mean, it was years of pain and suffering with this. Now, granted, I will quick backstory. I'm a by nature confused individual because I'm ambidextrous. So I do some stuff with my left hand. I do some stuff with my right hand. So I'm not really sure what I'm dominant in when I go into certain situations. So anyway, we kind of jokingly set up, and I just hit a couple putts left-handed, and they were all like close to perfect readings. And Mike just kind of looked at me and he's like, do it again. And I'm like, All right. I guess I'm lefty now. So
Wow.
that's now I'm relearning lag putting. That's the only thing. The feel of like distance is the only thing I kind of lost. But the ball roll is
the
so
holding
cool.
out. Yeah, sure. Wow. Very interesting.
And that was thanks to your machine. So I appreciate that.
Brilliant.
I'm not gonna get too technical on what it showed, but it was all red. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Right-handed.
Right-handed, all red. And then he had a couple blue faces left-handed. And ball roll just changed dramatically. I'm like, this is absolutely incredible. I did not expect this at all. It was literally, we were just messing around, having fun. Because we actually started swinging full swings left-handed. And we're like, well, why don't we try this with putting too and just see what happens? Because his left-handed swing wasn't bad.
Well,
And that's how we got there.
Wow. I had a Dutch pro a couple of weeks back now. He was thinking of doing the same thing. And it was just like, no. You've been a pro. You're actually not bad at this. There's a couple of things we want to change, but no, we are not going down this road. We are not doing this. So, wow. But I'm glad it's the first time but I know people, well, they're starting to chip different, cross-handed chipping. But did you realize, the guys, that 30% of people now on the PGA Tour have an unconventional putting grip?
Did not know that. Wow.
So 30%. 30%. So rather than the classic right below left.
Yeah.
So I suppose where I'm going here is the myths of, I've got to use a belly putter or a broom putter, or I've got an arm lock putter. Yeah. Or even if I've got to putt left below right. Because let's go back. Padraig was left below right back in 2002, and we quite clearly could prove that was better for him than conventional. Yeah, but yet it was deemed maybe, you got a weakness. You're not so good at putting. And you're out there with your buddies, and they're all going to give you stick. I'm sure it happens now. If you turned up with a belly or a broom putter with your local Saturday 4-ball, yeah, you're going to get a little bit of chitter chatter, aren't you, as you're going round?
Absolutely.
I think hopefully people using Quintic, understanding the numbers and the data, that it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, how you do it doesn't really matter. And you are now, as I said, you're seeing a third of the tour using something that would be deemed unconventional, just because their scores are better. They're scoring better.
Have you seen a shift in your market, right? In just kind of people's willingness to dive into data, right? There's been this explosion of, people wanting information and more data around what they're doing, for better or worse in a lot of cases. But, I think people are more open to it now than they've ever been. And is that something that's helped your business, impacted your business in a positive way, I would imagine?
Well, yeah, I think I would say yes to that. Putting is still an afterthought from the vast majority of people. Because I think, let's be honest, anybody can putt. I mean, we go and play the local pitch and putt or a crazy golf. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 5-year-old or you could be 95. You can always go and have a great fun at a Pirates Cove for an international drive. Have a great
time. Us boys have all lost a date night golf to somebody who's never played before. It's happened to all of us. So
exactly. Absolutely.
Little mini golf or putt, whatever you guys want to call it.
Putt. Yeah. You guys call it putt. So, but I think to putt well, when you've got a card in your hand and you're playing on greens that are 10 plus on the stint meter, that's a skill. That is a real skill that I think takes time to hone and to understand. So it's where people put the importance of that, I think. And sure, if you're an 18 handicapper I think, getting that ball 250 somewhere down the middle, keeping it in play, then trying to get it there or thereabouts on the green. That's a big driver, a big important factor for why they want to play the game. But I think once you start to get to 9 or low single figures, what separates you then from getting scratch the other side plus is definitely putting and short game. Let's be honest, the two go hand in hand. I mean, some of the stats are ridiculous. How many shots inside you have inside 100 yards? How many shots per round? I'm pretty sure it's about 2/3 of your round is inside 100 yards.
Yeah.
It's roughly. It's in that ballpark. It's in that ballpark. So
yeah, and I stress that a lot with students that walk into my door. It's there's a few courses in Philadelphia where they don't actually cut the greens fully. They more just roll them a lot, and they lay a lot of grain down. And a lot of players are like, oh, those greens are just really hard to read, and they just don't understand that the golf ball is coming off the face, just not optimal for them to putt that green. And they just say, oh, well, those greens are no good on that course, and that's not the case at all. Those greens are actually good, and if you can roll the ball well, now you actually use that grass to your advantage, and I think there's a big misconception of that.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. The people, even some of the tour pros, are a little bit naive on the greens, but it is definitely changing. Back to your original point, Tyler, I think definitely changing. People are becoming a lot more inquisitive, want to understand how to get a putter fitting, how to improve their putting with a lesson and some basics.
Yeah, we may have to hold releasing this podcast. I want to be better than everybody I play, so I don't want people to start working on putting now. But for Dr. Paul's sake, I think we may have to. To geek out a little bit. So I'm in the tech, in the software space, right? So I'm very interested in obviously with your background. How did you come to? And we don't have to get into the specifics in like what the IP is around Quintic, but sure. How do you come to build something like that? How do you come to figuring out all of those pieces and then make it a business on top of it? Because it's one thing to coach or use technology. It's a whole nother ball game, to invent it and
to develop it. Yeah, no, you're right. Well, I said back to sort of PhD testing days. I said the coach wanted to see that video camera, immediately. So then it was very early days. I taught myself some basic programming of how to get the video camera onto a computer. Yeah, capture card, capture the data, play it, pause it, freeze frame. So that bit of self-taught right at the start. I set up the business with my late father back in '96. He was how do I put it? Computer simulation. That was his job. Business school, Warwick Business School in the UK. So it's a pretty famous school. MBA. They churn out some pretty high-profile people that have been through it. But so he was computer-minded as well. Let's be honest. So the sort of he helped definitely, and then later as it sort of this is actually potentially could work. Came on board more full time and very much helped develop the system. But it was all about capturing video onto the computer, storing it, being able to manipulate it, freeze frame, and then put lines and all that sort of stuff all over it. But golf was one thing. But we had rugby, we had athletics. There's lots of different sports going on. So there was definitely a need for coaches to want to analyze the data, analyze what was happening.
So you're analyzing points of movement, and you could move those points to anything, whether it be a club face and a ball or a shoulder to an ankle.
Correct. Absolutely. So you're tracking markers. Now you're tracking human movement at the end of the day. And then from a putting perspective, I was introduced to Yes Golf. You remember Yes Golf? The Seagrove putters, and Harold Swash. And Harold was a very famous coach here in the UK. He developed the putter. And it was a simple half black and half white ball, nothing special. And you paint it one bit black and leave the other bit white. I mean, Ping did that ball years before, but it was just very visual to show somebody how the ball rolled as it came off the face. And then you superimpose one camera on top of another, start to show it. And then obviously we can see a difference. Now let's try and put a number to that difference. And if you like, that's where the ball roll started, the actual software. So yeah, we're lucky. I mean, we've been able to do consultancy as well. I mean, that's where we're slightly different. We're not just a software company. We've got other guys that will do athletics and football consultancy. So we're using the software in the real world, not just stuck behind a keypad and sort of churning it out. We're doing both. So hopefully that's how it's developed, you know, the system has developed.
Yeah, to me,
how did you come up with those parameters for the ball roll launch and all that? How'd that come about?
Michael, that's just years of just gathering data. Yeah, gathering data, putting on different surfaces, built a putting robot in the studio to look at the variability of what the robot can do. So let's see what. There's no movement here. It should be pretty much the same. What variability does a robot give me? What variability does a tour player give me? What does an amateur give me? So back to Tyler's question earlier, different amateurs and pros. I would say the amateurs definitely have a wider range of variability. Pros would be more consistent. I think that goes without saying.
Now, as agronomy gets better, do you feel those numbers will start to change a little bit?
I think don't worry about the agronomy. I definitely think the numbers change whether you're, say, East Coast or West Coast of America. The grain, the Bermuda. You got POA. Then you come across to the UK. You got Bent. There's a definite different reaction of how the ball behaves on these surfaces. Yeah.
Okay. And that comes back down to the coach then at that point, identifying and understanding that to help relate that to the player then.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an amazing amalgamation of value in an organization to provide the software and the consulting services, because you're not just handing somebody something to go figure out and interpret a variable and then, you know, maybe misalign, but being able to kind of provide that guidance makes it an invaluable package, in my opinion.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I would agree. And it's the same with the fitting chart as well, the fitting process for the putter. I think that's taken a while, but we're pretty comfortable now with those 5 key parameters that we take people through. Yeah, and if you come out effectively with greens in those 5 parameters, you're doing amazing. So your face rotation, your face angle, your ball speed, the launch, and the spin. That's what you're after, and it's lovely to see a lot of the manufacturers following that same process, the same fitting process.
How undervalued is that? From my perspective, that's an area that I could say as an amateur, I don't think 99% of amateurs think about that. They just grab a putter, whatever feels good, whatever rolls good. But a club fitting, that's a whole different ball game, right? Oh yeah, I got to get my driver fitted. I have to get my irons fitted. Even wedges now, people understand grind sizes, but
definitely,
I don't think anyone is really at the putter level. But can you kind of break down in layman's terms to an amateur like myself, like where is the value in whether it's shaft or face or face angle, that at a really high level, like what sort of things should we be looking for?
Well, obviously, the face angle at impact is king. There's no doubt about it. Where that face is pointing is where the ball's going to go at impact. That's where the ball's going. So then that leads back to is how consistent does that player rotate the face? Yeah, how is that putter swinging? Yeah, so let's take your right-handed stroke for argument's sake. Mike will have the numbers, but there's more than likely a variability. See, some might be closing very quickly. Others you might be, now don't go left, and then you start to hold it off, and therefore the rate of rotation slows down. So the first factor is I want that putter to match how you want to rotate and swing the club. Yeah, and that could be based on your limb lengths, your height, size. That's as well. Why do we always give a 34-inch putter that weighs a 340 head weight to a 12-year-old junior and then a 6'6" linebacker? Yeah, they're completely different athletes and humans, but yet we give them the same implement. And I just like, well, hold on a second. That doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah. So weight, the shaft weight, the swing weight. There's a lot goes on into how that putter will want to swing. Yeah, so that's the first thing. That needs to be repeatable and match you. Once you can match it, then you've got to be able to align it. So the colors, the lines, the offset, shaft offset. Do you want a line? Do you want no line? What do people actually use to align the putter? You ask that question to people, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not sure. Is it the front? Is it the back? Is it the line on the leading edge?" They don't really know. And then once you've got that bit, then you've got to be able to get the right speed. So what makes the right speed? You've got to be able to find the middle of the club. You've got to be able to have the same tempo. You've got to be able to have the same acceleration at impact. Then you've got to find the middle. So there's a lot goes on into getting the same speed. And then once you've got the right speed, then we better make sure we've got the right launch angle. Yeah? Because there's no point. Imagine if it was a 7-iron, we got all of those right, and we've got the right club speed, but then we launch them at different angles, the ball will go a different distance. Yeah?
Yep.
Same with the putter. You start launching them at different heights, launch angles, they go a different distance. And then the launch is very closely related to spin. So it filters down.
Yep. It's amazing.
To get this little ball in the hole.
Just to get that damn ball in the hole. Won't go in.
So do you, is there any requirements for a coach or for a club or a facility to buy a Quintic Ball Roll? Do you ever do any screening before you would sell a device?
I think it's tough to. I'm going to say this. If somebody wants to buy it, I think legally we have to. I don't think we can say no. But
Of course.
I would like to think nobody in their right mind is going to buy something if they're not going to use it or not going to invest the time in understanding how to use it. I mean, if they want to, then fair enough. But that seems a bit crazy. But as Michael, you've gone through it, it's a constant learning. Just because you've got the kit doesn't mean you the nicest way you know how to use it. Whereas you've taken the time, you've gone through the training, gone through the education and the accreditation, so it all starts to make more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the software is one thing. It's the time. You've obviously got to have a passion for putting and want to help in the putting instruction world. You've got to. Or why would you be doing it? Yeah. So I think, you've got to really be a putting coach, have an interest in putting, and therefore want to know more information, want to know what's happening. with club ball interactions, etc. And that's why you would go ahead and get it.
Yep. Okay. Understood. And that's where I thought you were going with it, but I didn't know if you had a specific process through that.
Well, we'd have a look behind the scenes. Yeah, of course. Who is this person? Who are they? Would they be a good fit? I mean, yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, I could say as a user of Quintic Ball Roll, I mean, my first man, I would say first year using it, I was spinning. I mean, I was like, I really have to do a lot of research here, and
Well,
I have, and you know, the amount of emails that I send you and ask you questions about, what's
that's
going
fine.
on, and hey, am I on the right direction here with this? And just going through, your seminars and becoming
Yep.
certified, and then watching all your videos that you put on YouTube. I mean, it's extremely helpful. And to Tyler's point earlier, I mean, that consulting that's huge for this, and that's huge to help me as a coach. And people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're an expert," and I'm like, "I'm okay, thank you, but I'm not the expert." Dr. Paul's the expert. I'm just doing my best to represent his company the best that I can through this. But it's, for me, I feel like it's a constant learning, no matter what. And once I feel like I got it, then another situation comes up, and it's like, okay, I have to relearn this now, and I have to figure this part out.
Yeah.
So it's been a great journey, and you've been a great mentor through that. And I'm willing to bet that 100% of the users of Quintic Ball Roll would make that same exact comment about you, and how valuable you are behind the system as well to gather that information to help us through it.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think. Well, even for me, we're still learning. Just for example, downstairs now, I've got the robot all set up, and we're running some putter testing. We're running some putters through. So yeah, you never stop, do you? There's always something, the new material on the face, a new design, and we're going to find out what happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll say too. I gotta give you a plug. Go to anybody watching, listening. Go to Paul's website. Paul Hurrion .com, right? It's the amount of information on putting on that website is more. It was more dialed in, and there was more information than anywhere I've ever went. Like, and in combination, everything you could think of on there about the putting stroke, I was blown away. I'm like, oh, what's this link? What's this? And it's just there's a wealth of knowledge on there. Anybody listening could have a field day with information on that site alone.
Because I used to write a lot of research articles that would go in the peer-reviewed journals, and I think even to this day, the coaches don't ever read them. They never get disseminated. It's almost like the university academics are in their own little bubble. And don't get me wrong, they do some fantastic stuff. But how much of that actually comes across for the coach? And I've always tried to be that middle person that I can communicate with the scientists, definitely, because I've done that bit. But then also from a coaching perspective, to be able to sort of bridge that gap and turn, hopefully, those the articles you're talking about on the website, there is a bit of an academic in there, but they're very much a coaching slant within them and how you can apply them. So,
okay. Yeah, spot on, which is you have to have like the application component to me of everything that you guys do is so key.
Yeah.
Because I could read a million things about it, but if I can't figure out how to apply it,
sure,
it's worthless essentially. I mean, I'm still not putting the ball in the hole.
Yeah, pointless. Yeah, no, sure. So yeah, and there's a couple more coming. They take a while to write, but it's just like that's what I use the flights back and forward to America for. I quite like those because they're like 9 hours, 10 hours where nobody can get hold of you. It's great. I can sit on the computer and I'm on my own. But anyway, I digress.
Oh, that's awesome. So Doc, what advice would you have then for someone that's looking to get into golf or become a putting instructor? Where should they start?
Wow. Get into golf. Well, I think obviously a passion for the sport for sure. You need that one. I think now there's so many different facets of the game. I don't think anybody's able to cover all of them anymore. I think the day of the one person, the one coach, if you like, the classic PGA coach, I don't think that exists anymore. I mean, if it's short games, it could even you could be bunkers, it could be pitching, it could be, as you say, putting, it could be irons, it could be speed. You know, there's so many facets there already. Then you've got nutrition, then you've got psychology, you've got strength and conditioning. I mean, physiotherapy, rehab. I mean, it's never ending, isn't it? Never ending. You can even go into R&D. Are you somebody that likes to do the robot testing and work behind the scenes to create the latest equipment? So I think you've got to find what makes you tick of all those different aspects, and then you just read, understand it as well as you possibly can. So that's my first thing. Whether you've then got to go through the PGA and becoming a qualified coach before you take your first introduction into golf instruction, I don't know. I didn't. I didn't do any PGA. I just came through the education side. But obviously lucky enough to work with a player, and it just went from there. So I think you just got to have a passion, and if you've got a passion and you understand that part of the area as well as anybody, or I'd say better than anybody, then you've got the edge. You've got the cutting edge. So
It's good stuff.
I'm curious. I know we're at time. This is a personal question for me at least. But with all the information you have, could you pinpoint? And I'm sure I don't know if you've analyzed every sport or how many sports you've looked at, but could you say which sport has the most difficulty in terms of data points, like the most variables in a sport that make it challenging, that make it difficult? Is there one that stands out? Are there so many in all of them?
Interesting. I've not done a lot of team sports, I'll be honest. I'd say the vast majority of our, or you can say football's a team sport, but I'd say
cricket's team too, right?
Yeah, but rewind. But they're individuals within the team. I mean, the bowler, everything else stops. There's 22 people on the team playing the game. 9 of them are sat inside having their scones and sandwiches, and the other 13 are playing. But when the 13 are playing, there's only one guy that matters, the guy with the ball. Yep. At that point, it's a one-on-one game. It's a one-on-one battle. The bowler and the batter. Then I go to football. It's a one-on-one. It's the goalkeeper versus the striker. Yep. Yeah. So it's a one-on-one battle, and he's got there's people in the way. He's got to get up and out. But that's the physics. Golf is one against the rugby. I did quite a lot in rugby kicking, base kicking, but it's a team, but it's one-on-one. So I've never really got into I don't say like an American football. That to me just must be really interesting. How those coaches go about dealing with.
I think we can still look at it on an individual level, because when I think of when people ask, athletics and how difficult sports are, right? Hypothetically, you could have the data to back up the difficulty to achieve consistency or excellence in certain areas, right? Whether it's kicking a football or a soccer ball for all of our listeners here in the States, but cricket, baseball, basketball, really anything. What I'm trying to understand is like, is there one that there's a variable that's just so way out of control, like golf, where,
Well, the variables in golf are the conditions, aren't they? The surface, the wind, the rain,
I wasn't even thinking about that. That's a whole, that's true.
That's just another, that's golf for you.
Yeah.
And it's hard, let's be honest, it's hard. But then I think throwing an American football, where you got all these people around you trying to kill you, and then the other thing, you're trying to time it up, and you've got to scan the pitch to look for 3 or 4 options, and you're all doing that in split. I mean, that's super impressive watching the guys go about do that.
I did read that hitting a baseball, so hitting a round object with hitting a moving round object with a cylinder, another round object, is the most difficult thing to do. And you have like a 0.011 milliseconds to react to a ball coming in at you at 95 miles an hour. I've heard that's the hardest, or I've read that's the hardest. As a former baseball player, I could say, but to me, golf's harder. That's damn.
I think there'll be a lot of cricketers that would say, but the thing doesn't bounce. You throw a ball at 90, bowl a ball at 90 plus miles an hour, then it hits the grass, the pitch,
and spins.
It spins, and the ball's not round. It's got a seam on it, and then the bowlers are very clever. They're trying to land it on the edge of the seam, so when it pitches, it moves. And then you've got the reaction time. Then is, you just can't. It's so small. It's next to nothing. At least the bat is square, a little bit bigger than potentially a baseball bat, but you get 3 goes in baseball, though. You only get 1 go in cricket. If you get it wrong, you're out. You can have a couple of sighters in baseball, and then I'll come to this one.
Fair enough. That's fair.
I don't know, swings and roundabouts. I think they're both have their own levels of difficulty, but yet, as you say, the skills of a baseball pitcher are incredible. How they deceive and try to obviously draw the batter into doing something that they didn't want to do.
I was hoping you'd say golf by far has the most data points, so then I could end the argument with anybody that it's the most difficult sport. So,
well, obviously, I do think hitting a stationary ball brings a lot more mental side into the sport. It's baseball, cricket is very reactive, so that notion of hitting a stationary ball when you've got to do it, water's all down the left, the wind's howling off the right. I mean, that's tough. I mean, we all saw Sawgrass last week. That's some pretty nasty holes, 16, 17, 18 to finish. You've got to do that when it matters. Fine doing it on a Wednesday afternoon when you're playing with your buddies with a few cans of beer, but not when it matters. Yeah.
No, I say it to students all the time. I ask them a lot, how do you hit it? Are you able to hit a baseball, or do you hit it better off of the tee, or do you hit it better when it's coming at you? And I try to find our players reactors or non-reactors, and most of the time, from what I noticed, and please, you'll know more about this than I will, you see pitchers and quarterbacks tend to play golf better than other positions, because they are trying to take an object that's not moving and move it, where other positions are now reacting to that.
Yeah, the opposite.
And I try to that's how I try to relate golf to other sports, more than say necessarily the motion. I try to relate it more to the reaction part of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's brilliance in that simplicity. I never thought of it that way, where you have the reactionary component that takes the mind out of it because it's reactionary. But when you're standing over top and you said the wind's howling or the rain, you cross winds or there's water, there's a whole other battle that's going on between your ears that that you're fighting.
Then you have a 4-foot putt, Tyler.
For me, that's the battle. I don't mind the water or the wind. It's that 4 foot not as a lefty anymore, though. I'm not scared of that anymore, Mike.
But again, you've got expectation suddenly in there, haven't you? 4 foot, I should really hold this. And that does its own level of sort of pressure. But I like the analogy in football. Soccer, you've got 22 guys running around on the pitch. Nobody's really focused on anybody. It's very reactionary. Yeah. Suddenly the whistle goes and there's a penalty. The whole stadium's eyes just go on this one person. And that takes a special person to be able to flip from a reactionary game to a target. I've actually got to do this. I've got to perform. So there's a very few people that can really do that well.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I never thought of that.
I bet field goal kickers would be real good golfers too.
Yeah. They are. Don't you think that's very reactionary as well? It's time to the second. They've got to go.
It is, but it's very mental. You have to sit there for 2 minutes knowing exactly how far you're kicking it and where you're kicking it from, and the game's on the line. I
agree. Yeah. But once it's out there, the ball's out, you go. There's no dilly-dallying. You've got to go.
Oh man, we're in the sports psychology side of it. This part is a whole other ball of wax.
They all link together. They
do.
It's very important that we say this because technically, I like to build up that blueprint. I like the player to understand their technical component. Once they can understand that, then I think the psychology becomes a lot easier. If you try and just do pure psychology without any technical underpinning, I think it's very difficult. It's tough to keep saying, I'm mentally good, I am good, when my technique is going to let you down. The basic physics are going to let you down. It's a combination of both. You have to have both. And they're the ones that you see succeed. And I think the better you are, the more you understand your technique, then the needle shifts to being more psychological and mental and understanding how to cope. But you've got to have the technical stuff first.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Doc, we could sit here all day and talk to you. We really could.
Well,
this is great.
No problem.
We are going to wrap it up, though. I'm going to ask you at a later date to come back on, and we'll have some more discussion about some other things that Tyler and I, I'm sure, are thinking of to add a little extra to another episode with you later on down the road. But this has been an absolute pleasure. Every time I'm in a room with you, or in this case, on a recording with you, I learn something new, and I really appreciate that about you. And thank you so much for that.
No, well, thanks for having me, and happy to. Well, we'll do another one as long as the listeners like it, of course.
Yeah, let's do another one. Next time you cross the pond, we grab a pint.
Oh, a pint! There we go.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. Dr. Paul, appreciate it, man. This was a wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Doc. All right. Bye.
All the best.